I am Desi, professional investor and also the investment manager of the Everly May Capital Group, where we do group investing together, right? People invest their savings and their retirement accounts with us, and we buy mortgage notes all over the country. We also build um, apartment buildings and from the ground up. So we do these kinds of things where, there's a lot of profit in them. But that's not what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about what I'm going to call um, elusive equity. Elusive equity, right? Because I was destroyed by what I thought was going to be my saving grace, and that is the equity in my real estate. And some of you guys are sitting on equity in your real estate right now, and you believe that your equity is going to be your saving grace, right? Um, and when you hit retirement, it's going to provide you with all that you need, or maybe you're going to use that equity later to maybe sell the house and then downsize and pay cash or whatever. But I just want you guys to understand something about equity. Equity is elusive. And just because it's here today doesn't mean that it will be here tomorrow. And I'm going to share my personal story with you so that you get it, right? You'll see exactly what happened in my own life. And I'm also going to show you a strategy that I could have used that would have just been a total game changer for me. And it can be a game changer for you too. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen here, show you guys exactly what it is that I'm doing and or that I should have done. Let me say it that way. Show you guys exactly what I should have done and then get a little bit of feedback from you guys here on what your thoughts are about this. So let's talk about real estate equity, right? Because for most of us, that's where our equity is. Now, obviously, some of us have equity in other assets, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But for now, let's talk about real estate equity because this is my personal story, okay? I had real estate equity in a house that I built here in Southern California. I built a really nice four-bedroom, three-bathroom home on a four-car garage on a nice lot, an acre lot here in Southern California. I did that in the year 2000. It cost me $420,000 to build that thing. But over the years, right, over just a course of 7 years, it went up from $420,000 in value to $800,000 in value in 7 years. That's a $380,000 equity position. You see that? So that's what made me feel really comfortable. I thought, man, I got a ton of equity in this property. And so I really wasn't too worried about it. But here's the reality, right? Equity is elusive. It's elusive. And so I want to show you guys here what happened in my situation. Here's my story. As I said, I paid 420, but within 3 years, the house was worth 550. Okay. And then in the spring of 2007, my neighbor who had a similar house to mine, a little bit smaller and a smaller lot, sold his house for $760,000 in the spring of 2007. I was going to sell mine too, and I figured I'd get 800,000 for mine because my house was bigger and it also has a nicer lot, right? And a larger lot too. Um, but I decided I was going to wait until it get to $1 million. That's what I told my wife. I said, when this thing hits 1 million, we're out of here. Okay. So that was my thought. That was in the spring of 2007. Well, guess what? Um, with $380,000 in equity, I knew that we could take that money and buy a nice house someplace else and have no mortgage payment. But 3 months later, the world started to change. Those of you that have been around since, before 2007 as adult or as investors, you'll remember towards the end of 2007, things started to flatten out a bit, right? The real estate market started to shift and soften. And what does that mean? That means that houses were not selling as fast as they had been selling prior to that. We were changing and transforming from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And when that happens, what happens is sales slow down initially. So for people that are trying to sell their house, it was getting tougher and tougher. And so I decided, okay, well, tell you what, let's just put this thing up for sale right now. This is me in the fall of the same year, fall of the same year. I could see the market had flattened out because at that time I was a real estate agent and I owned a real estate company and a mortgage company. So I said, okay, let me get out of this house now. So I put the house up for sale for $750,000 in late 2007. But unfortunately for me, the general public was already recognizing the fact that house prices were starting to soften. So let me ask you a question. If you see prices starting to come down, are you going to rush out and buy a house right now? If prices are coming down? No, of course not. You're gonna say, let's wait. They're going down. Let's just wait and see how low they go. And so what I found is I found myself chasing the prices down. In spring of 2008, I reduced my price down to 600,000 because the prices were coming down. Still, nobody was buying because the prices were still falling in 2008, right? That's the Great Recession, really hit hard that year. In the fall of 2008, I reduced my price down to 500,000. I'm thinking I just want to try to get something to get out of here, okay? And I needed to do that, guys, because the business that I owned, right? I owned a real estate office and a mortgage company, and guess what? Houses were not selling and people were not taking mortgages. So you know what happened to my income? It was put down to pretty much like nothing. I needed to sell this house. And so finally, in the summer of 2009, the house sold for $400,000, less than I had paid to even build the doggone thing. Okay? So, my $380,000 equity, was it real or was it just pixie dust? I contend equity is just pixie dust, guys. In most instances, it's nothing. It's nothing. It makes you feel good, but the reality is it's nothing. Now, think about this. What if I had done things a little differently, right? What if I had used a strategy called equity conversion when I actually had equity and before the market softened, right? Well, I could have converted my equity to investable cash, investable capital. And so here's how that could have worked out for me. I could have done that either by selling that house, like my neighbor did. I could have refinanced the mortgage on the house and taken cash out, or I could take an equity loan on the house and use the house as collateral. Either way, any one of those instances, I could have tapped into the equity that I had in that property before the equity went away. And once you have that equity, it's in your hand. It's in your hand, right? And once you have that cash, you have more options. One of the challenges that I had, of course, is that my wife actually didn't want to move. And so selling wasn't going to be an option. If I had done this before the market softened, I could have refinanced it or I could have taken an equity loan. So let's take a look at those possible options. If I had refinanced it, I could have pulled out about $300,000 in equity from that property. $300,000 in actual investable cash. If I had done that and put that money to work at only 8%, in 5 years, that 300,000 would have been $447,000. Okay? $447,000. In 10 years, that 300,000 would have been $665,000. Now, at the time the recession hit, I still had 23 years left to go on my mortgage. So, at the end of 23 years, if I had done that, I would have had almost $2 million in cash, plus my house would have been paid for. Far better off than just having a paid for house with a whole bunch of equity in it, right? So I would have had $1.88 million in actual hard cash from a $300,000 investment, and that would have grown while I was paying off my house. So guys, you see how that works out? Far better solution for me than the option that I took, just trying to sit on there and feeling secure in the equity that I had in that property. So what I've just shown you guys is this. We're all seeking financial freedom. at the end of the day, I've not met anybody who wouldn't want to be financially free. Now, I'm not saying that you wouldn't work, because maybe you love what you do, but I'm simply saying work is having a job is optional when you are financially free. I could have literally created an environment where I had financial freedom in my grasp, okay? In my grasp. And that would be using financial intelligence to accomplish what I just showed you. Now, let me say this, guys. You may not know where you can put your money to work at 8% on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't. But, and some of you guys are thinking, well, I need 10 or 12, or I want 20%. Yeah, I've had people say that to me. I won't invest for less than 20%. And I'm thinking, well, then you're looking for high risk investments. And I'm showing you how you can get rich without doing all that. It's not about getting rich quick. It's just about getting rich. And so here's what I would tell you. Some of you right now have equity in your house. Or maybe you have a rental property, right? You have equity in the rental property. Or maybe you have a motorhome and you have equity in your motorhome. Or you have, big boy toys, as I like to call them, right? Jet skis and motorcycles and, off-road vehicles, things like that, that you could actually rent when you're ready to do it. And then you could, if you were to sell those now, take the equity out of those and start a process like this, you could assure yourself of having significant financial resources in the future. Okay, that's just financial intelligence. That's financial intelligence. So take a look around at your own assets and say, hey, what can I do? What equity can I tap into? And then tap into it and start doing this kind of thing. If you're not sure exactly how to get a decent 8%, 9%, 10% return, well, that's where I come in. I can help you with that. Okay? You can go to therealdesiarnez.com and you can connect with me. That's therealdesiarnez.com. You can connect with me there. And if you want to be an active investor uh, and do the investing on your own, I can teach you how to do that. I have something called Note Investor University. And at Note Investor University, we teach people how to create passive income and how to create wealth using mortgage-backed promissory notes so that you can grow your wealth without being a landlord and dealing with tenants and toilets and trash. You become the bank for the homeowners. Every month, they send you their mortgage payments. And if they don't send the mortgage payments, you, just like Bank of America, can take the real estate. And then you can sell it, you can move into it, you can rent it out, you can give it to your kids, do whatever you want to do with it because it would be your property at that point. I like to sell them, take the cash, and buy more mortgage-backed promissory notes. That's what I like to do, okay? So if you want to learn how to do that, you can do that. And for those of you that want to be completely passive, you can invest in our partnership program. Here at our company, we have a partnership program for people that say, you know what, I don't want to go back to university and learn how to do this stuff. I just want to know that my money is working for me and it's in good hands. And that's where we come in. Okay? You can check us out. Just as I said, head over to therealdesiarnez.com. And right there, there's a button that says, check out Desi's investments or something like that, right? And you can click on that and you can see the things that I invest in. And if you want to partner with me on something, we can certainly do that. Okay? So guys, that's what I want to share with you guys today. And for those of you that have stuck with me here through to the end, I am going to take questions here if there's anybody that has any. But in the meantime, I do want to say this. I want to say this to you. You need to keep your money working. Period. Right? Don't let your money get lazy. Some of you guys don't know this, but banks keep their money working all the time. Did you guys know that banks do overnight lending? Google it. They'll lend money for 8 hours. Yes, that doesn't make them rich, right? One 8-hour loan doesn't make them rich, but if you do that every day, 365 days a year, 10, 15, 20 years, guess what? It's not bad. It's just additional money. But you see, banks are masters of money. So why are you guys and why are we as consumers not more diligent about making sure that our money is working for us at all times, whenever it's possible? Well, I can't speak for everyone, but I can tell you guys that is certainly how I function these days. Now, I've written a book called The Family Circle of Wealth. It's available on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon for 20 bucks. However, because you're watching me here today, I will send you a signed copy of my book. Now, this book, uh, in this book, I describe how I have created wealth for myself, and then how I have built an internal system called a dynasty trust and a family banking system so that I can pass my wealth on to my heirs for 360 years to come, and I can control it. How that money is used and how it's distributed amongst my family members for the next 360 years, so that no single family member can squander what I've created, right? The wealth that I've created. As a matter of fact, I have it set up so that as our family grows, our wealth grows on autopilot. On autopilot. I explain all of that in this book. You can get this book for free by simply texting the word book to me at 951-551-0087. Text the word book to that number on the screen. Now, obviously, I'm going to sign this book and send it to you in the mail. I'll even cover the postage. But what you're going to need to do is make sure I know where to mail it. So I need your mailing address, okay? So that I can send you the book. But I'll send it to you for free. After you get it, read it. If you have questions, use the same phone number, and it's in the book too. But just reach out to me. I'm happy to tell you how I did it, help you structure your own. And by the way, this is not, I don't get paid for this. This is just something that I do because I really have seen the benefits that this has brought into my own family and how it's brought my family closer together. And I'd like to see that in your family. And I want to help as many families as I can to get out of the rat race and to create wealth for their family that grows generation after generation. And that's what this book is all about. I think this is the most powerful legacy building system on earth, and I talk about it in my book, guys. So if you're interested in that, just text me the word book and I'll get that over to you. Okay? So let me see here if we have any questions in the chat. If we do, I'll answer them. And if there are no questions in the chat, let's see here. Our questions, oh, I see Patrick came into the chat. He says, if you don't use it, you can lose it. That's the story with equity, Patrick. If you don't use it, you will lose it, most likely, okay? And so if you're counting on equity to be your savior, like I was counting on it, think again, okay? You don't want the market to determine if you're going to do well. You need to have, in my opinion, a plan that you can control the outcome on. And there is no better plan than being in the money business. It's not driven by market, and it has collateral, meaning that it has something you can take. As I mentioned earlier, if you're invested in this space, in the mortgage note space, and the person that is supposed to send their mortgage payment to you every month, if they fail to do that, you have recourse, okay? If you're invested in some stock and those people are paying dividends, the company's paying dividends, and they stop paying dividends, oh well, you just don't get the dividends. Tough. If the company goes out of business, the money that you invested, tough. Sorry, it's gone. And by the way, I actually lived that experience. A company that I invested in when I was investing in stocks literally went out of business. And every dime that I had purchased, that I had invested in that company was lost. Every dime. Nothing recoverable. Okay? And that's when I thought, why am I doing this? This is crazy. Leave this for people that like to gamble. I want sure wealth. I want to build wealth for myself. And so that's what I'm going to suggest to you guys. Consider this, guys. Just consider it. So I hope you guys found this interesting, enlightening, encouraging, whatever, right? And so I'm going to suggest to you guys, seriously consider this. And as I said, request my book. So I'm going to wrap it up right now and call it a day. And as always, may God bless you. May God bless your family. And may God bless America. See you next time.